A soft wash of static filled the control room. The quiet heartbeat of the universe turned into sound. Screens glowed with graphs and scrolling numbers, each one a faint whisper from somewhere far beyond the solar system. At 2:17 in the morning, Maya Chin leaned back in her chair, stretching after another long calibration shift. The Deep Space Pulse Survey rarely offered surprises. Most nights were a patient hunt through noise. She was halfway through a sip of coffee when a sharp vertical line jumped across her monitor. The spike was thin but unmistakable. She frowned, set the mug aside, and ran a quick filter to rule out local interference. Nothing in the building matched the frequency. She paged the night supervisor, who appeared moments later rubbing sleep from his eyes. Together, they replayed the data. The signal wasn't random. A crisp pulse, then silence, then the same pulse exactly 42 minutes later. More staff drifted in as word spread. David Ross, the lead software engineer, overlaid the pattern with background models. Cosmic microwave residue, pulsars, quasars, none aligned with the newcomer. He increased the gain, revealing a lattice of microfluctuations hidden inside the peaks. Someone murmured that it looked almost like syllables in a language. The hum of machines felt suddenly alive. Dr. Elena Ramirez, principal investigator, arrived before dawn. She listened without speaking, dark eyes fixed on the graph. Then she asked for confirmation from the other dishes in the array. Data packets arrived from Arizona, Chile, and South Africa. Identical signatures, all locked on a single coordinate just past a charted void nicknamed Zeta 9. Ramirez issued a directive to maintain silence outside the team until they understood what they were facing. By late morning, a secure call connected JPL with Washington. An undersecretary requested hourly updates. Rumors swirled across the campus. Someone had glimpsed the anomaly on an unattended monitor and posted a cryptic hint online. Memes about alien mixtapes spread within hours, but inside the operation's center tension replaced humor. The data set had doubled in clarity. The pulse structure was no longer merely prime numbers, but an ordered ladder, each rung separated by ratios consistent with universal constants. The researchers worked through lunch, plotting the intensity of every burst. They debated if it might be a magnetar or an undiscovered form of fast radio burst. All known astrophysical mechanisms failed to explain the precision. A magnetar could repeat, but not with such mathematical elegance. "This looks built," Maya whispered. The words felt dangerous in the air, yet no one disagreed. That evening the team reconfigured several telescopes to isolate the origin with greater precision. Clouds threatened to block the sky over Pasadena, so they diverted resources to a high-altitude platform in Chile. As the sun slid below the Andes, instruments locked onto the void beyond Zeta 9. The pulses sharpened, then wavered. For a heartbeat, the transmission ceased altogether. Everyone held their breath. When it resumed, there was something new layered inside, a climbing staircase of primes. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, marching upward before settling into a low harmonic drone. A hush spread through the room. Brooks from SETI, patched in via encrypted link, stared at the screen from his office in California. "That's deliberate," he said simply. The signal bore hallmarks of intent. Information density, consistent phase alignment, and power levels unimaginable for any accidental source. Whoever had sent it, or whatever it was, possessed technology far beyond human capability, yet had chosen mathematics as its handshake. Government representatives pressed for secrecy until an interpretation could be formed. Several private aerospace firms requested access, claiming intellectual property stakes in the survey hardware. Ramirez refused. Science would proceed first. She authorized an around-the-clock watch rotation and instructed her staff to log every change in amplitude or timing. Days passed in the blur of data streams and hushed speculation. Some staff proposed that the transmission might originate from an automated beacon, a cosmic lighthouse left by a civilization now extinct. Others believed the signal was alive, adjusting itself to their scrutiny. Each 42-minute interval arrived like clockwork, bringing fresh information compressed into the tiniest modulations. Late on the third night, while analysts compared phase drifts, a faint optical signature emerged in parallel telescope feeds. A blue shimmer no wider, then a pinprick glowed at the exact coordinates of the radio source. It brightened over successive frames, as though acknowledging their attention. The phenomenon resisted classification. Too steady for a flare, too cold for a star, too orderly for lensing. Ramirez gathered the core group in the briefing room. She laid out 3 possibilities: an unknown natural event, an elaborate hoax requiring impossible resources, or proof of an intelligence beyond Earth. No one dared speak the third option aloud, yet its presence hung heavy. The decision was made to attempt triangulation from lunar orbital receivers and a private antenna array in Australia, forming a baseline wide enough to map distance and potential motion. Calculations suggested the source lay not inside the Milky Way, nor in its satellite galaxies, but far beyond, on the rim of the observable universe. The sheer scale pressed down on them. To send such a beacon across billions of light years required either unimaginable energy or manipulation of space itself. Theorists from MIT and Cambridge, sworn to confidentiality, proposed exotic physics, quantum tunneling across cosmic strings, or signal piggybacking on gravitational waves. None could explain the elegant repetition of numbers meant for minds like theirs. While officials debated protocol, the scientists continued decoding. Buried within the harmonics, they found a repeating signature resembling a spiral, echoing the Fibonacci sequence. It appeared to grow, collapse, then regrow, a mathematical heartbeat. Someone suggested it was a request for acknowledgement, a knock waiting for an answer. At sunrise on the 5th day, the message's cadence altered subtly, compressing into shorter intervals before settling at its original rhythm. The change resembled testing, as if the sender were probing the limits of human instruments. Maya stared at the waveform, goosebumps rising on her arms. "It knows we're here," she murmured. Sleep became rare as the team prepared a response strategy. Hardware crews upgraded the transmission dish, fitting it with a cryogenic amplifier to reduce noise. Draft signals were drafted, simple sequences humanity could send without presuming too much. The plan was to reply with a universal hello encoded in primes and a ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, symbols any mathematic species should grasp. Meanwhile, political storms gathered beyond the lab. A leaked memo reached media outlets, sparking speculation that NASA had evidence of extraterrestrial contact. Journalists demanded statements. Ramirez authorized only a brief press comment. "We are investigating an unusual astronomical signal." The understatement fueled more theories. Online forums buzzed with claims ranging from an approaching alien fleet to proof of simulated reality. Inside JPL, security tightened. Visitors were screened, personal devices logged. The silence after the final burst was heavy enough to press against the walls of the control room. No one wanted to break it, as though words might shatter the fragile bridge now stretching between Earth and a mind far older than humanity. Ramirez exhaled slowly and signaled for recorders to continue running. Every byte mattered. They had proof that something in the darkness not only existed but had chosen to speak. Within hours, an emergency conference spanned continents. Physicists in Cambridge, linguists in Tokyo, cryptographers from a national security agency, and mathematicians from a European space agency joined NASA engineers on an encrypted channel. The packet, retrieved from the last transmission, was divided among clusters of supercomputers. Algorithms searched for symmetries, repetitions, and any form of compression that might hide a second layer. By dawn, a breakthrough emerged. The signal's internal timing encoded a series of ratios matching those found in human genetic sequences. Whether coincidence or design, the resonance was undeniable. The message was not only comprehensible, it was tuned to the species listening. Debate exploded over what the senders intended. Some argued the reference to human biology proved they had monitored Earth for millennia. Others claimed it was an elegant mathematical key meant to show that intelligence anywhere must eventually discover the same constants. The possibility of surveillance unnerved the security contingent, but for the scientists the implication was intoxicating. Humanity was not simply receiving. It had been invited. Ramirez established a layered work structure. One team concentrated on decrypting content. Another built hardware capable of sending a reply powerful enough to cross intergalactic space. The engineers requisitioned a dormant array in the Mojave Desert, its dishes soon crawling with technicians fitting cryogenic receivers and quantum amplifiers. They called the initiative the Echo Program, an acknowledgement of the universe finally giving voice to a question humanity had whispered for ages. Outside the sealed laboratories, political winds gathered. A coalition of nations insisted that any contact protocol must be negotiated through the United Nations. A rival bloc pressed for classified military oversight, citing the risk of hostile intent. News networks speculated endlessly, each outlet shaping the mystery to its own narrative. Yet the core group guarding the raw data refused to halt progress. They understood that if bureaucracy slowed them, the opportunity might slip away or be claimed by factions more interested in advantage than understanding. As the message was teased apart, patterns resembling nested spirals appeared in the data clusters. When plotted in 3 dimensions, they formed a lattice echoing the double helix of DNA, but extending beyond into a geometry unknown in terrestrial biology. Aides asked whether it could be blueprints for engineering, a conceptual map, or even instructions for creating something. The encryption team concluded that the content was more symbolic than operational, a statement that the senders valued growth, replication, and continuity. Life, they implied, was a project worth amplifying across galaxies. Ramirez convened a midnight session to decide the nature of Earth's response. Opinions diverged sharply. Some warned that answer without certainty could invite peril. Others maintained that silence, after such a direct gesture, would squander the chance of epics. Maya Chin spoke quietly from the back of the room. She reminded them that risk had always been the companion of discovery. Fire, flight, space travel itself. If humanity waited for a perfect safety, it would never leave the ground. Her words tipped the scale. The group agreed to craft a message, concise, mathematical, offering greeting rather than supplication. While linguists refined prime-based syntax and engineers modeled transmission paths, a shadow campaign unfolded, a clandestine organization styling itself as the custodians of Earth infiltrated the Mojave site. Convinced that the signal heralded invasion, they planted a worm in the data servers, scrambling key encryption tables. The sabotage went undetected until calibration tests produced contradictions in amplitude. Brooks, reviewing logs remotely, traced the anomaly to unauthorized access. Security teams purged the code and sealed entry points. But the incident underscored how fragile the operation had become under public scrutiny. Time pressure mounted when telescopes monitoring the source registered a slight shift. The luminous speck now oscillated, cycling through brightness levels that mirrored the cadence of the prime sequence Earth had decoded. The implication was clear. The origin waited for a response, adjusting its pulse as if impatient. A decision was unavoidable. Ramirez signed the authorization to broadcast. Construction crews assembled a hybrid array linking Mojave, Arecibo surviving modules, and 2 commercial satellites repurposed for a high-bandwidth mission. At the system's heart lay a prototype quantum beacon, designed to entangle photons across astronomical distances. Weeks of tuning converged on a launch window, coinciding with a predicted lull in solar interference. On the appointed night, teams gathered in 3 continents, headsets tuned to a single countdown. The carrier wave ignited, threading through the ionosphere and out past the edge of the solar wind. Encoded within its structure were sequences of primes, geometric diagrams representing hydrogen, carbon, and water, and a brief temporal marker locating Earth on a galactic map using pulsar references. The transmission concluded with a simple pulse signifying welcome, a declaration that the minds behind the signal had been heard. As the final bit cleared the relay buffers, a palpable quiet settled over the command floor. People exchanged glances heavy with wonder and fear. Across oceans, analysts monitored for any deviation from a background hiss. For hours, nothing changed. Some began to doubt whether their message could traverse the immensity in any meaningful time frame. But then, at precisely the interval required for light to bridge a fraction of the recorded distance, instruments trembled. A new emission flooded their receivers, stronger than before, layered with structures so intricate that visualization software rendered them as rolling landscapes of light. Among the data lay instructions written in the same elegant mathematics. A refinement of Earth's encoding, showing how to enhance clarity by adjusting carrier harmonics. Buried deeper was a schematic for a device resembling a lens, its purpose unclear but calculated to focus electromagnetic waves through a process exploiting quantum coherence. The suggestion was unmistakable. The senders were teaching humanity how to hear them better. Excitement surged through the scientific ranks. They realized the cosmos was not just answering but mentoring, shaping a dialogue across impossible gulfs. Work accelerated. Teams fabricated a proposed lens from superconducting lattices cooled to near absolute zero, then aligned it with a dish array. Tests revealed an order of magnitude gain in reception. For the first time, they captured a clean spectrogram of the luminous source, an object neither star nor planet, suspended in emptiness like an eye opening upon creation.